What's up, guys? Local Bulls fan. Finally back at it. Oh my gosh, it's been too long. Allergy season came, and for some reason this year, it was the worst. I'm allergic to pollen, and every year it gets worse and worse. I have to probably go to the allergy shot or something. It's insane. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't really get up, speak, things like that. On top of it, I couldn't even just go outside. Being allergic to pollen sucks, and if you're allergic to it, I am so sorry. If you don't have any allergies, phenomenal. Just be happy you're living life. And then after that, I got sick out of nowhere. I ended up having strep throat. Couldn't talk again. My health has just been up and down. I gotta do something about that. Just like AK has to do something about the damn Bulls. That's why we're all here. Oh my gosh, it's just been something. And then just watching head coach after head coach gets fired. You know, normally I would say I wish Billy would be fired. We get a chance at one of those. But then there's also this part in the back of my head where I'm just like, slow down. Slow down. He was able to, like, I'm not a Billy fan by any means. Billy Donovan, not happy with him that much. But I have to give praise where it's due. He had DeMar, Vooch, and Zach on his team majority of the season, all of the season. And he was able to have a great defensive rating. And that's on coaching. That's on, them buying in on the defensive schemes. And I'm very much I'm happy with that. I'm alright with him versus a Doc Rivers or something, I'll be honest. Because then what if we fire Billy and then try to go after, let's say, a Monty Williams or a Nick Nurse, only for them to not want anything to do with the purgatory or whatever direction the Bulls decided to go into. We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm alright with Billy Donovan coming in that season just because of that defensive rating. And just I wouldn't want to just, test our luck and then swing with nothing, get something worse, somebody worse than Billy Donovan, because we've seen that. That's why I'm pretty content, because there's a lot of teams Bulls are going to have to compete with. We don't have a guy like Giannis. We don't have Embiid, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, so on and so forth. We don't have that type of appeal when it comes to the star power for a coach to be yeah, I want to coach that guy. But besides, the head coaching, all that, we see Jokic going to the finals. I hope, Boston does the impossible, make the comeback, beats Miami. Just because I like Boston a lot. Just their team. I like Jim Miller. I do. I just get kind of annoyed with everyone just having a delusional memory of when he was in Chicago, as if we went on a run with that when he was, the number one guy. Sucks he's not here, but I don't like just getting caught up too much in the past when it comes to that. I did another video talking about how it's not good for the Bulls to just do what they did with Jimmy with Zach. But that doesn't mean I'm just gonna dwell. Damn, they could have done blah 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 blah. It just doesn't. It's not it for me. It's not something ideal. However, I like looking into the future, and that's what I'm talking about in this video. I touched on it, I've been rambling, but I just go with the flow. I want to talk about my perfect offseason, what I think the Bulls should do to look good next season. Mind you, it doesn't need to be a full-on rebuild, retool. I've just been listening to different podcasts, also the Joakim Noah interview with Kevin Garnett. That was phenomenal. But that sort of all that, really helped me shape what I'm thinking. Well, this has always been my idea. Not always, but after the draft lottery kind of hit me in the sense. So my ideal offseason, mind you, this isn't me saying it's the easiest thing to do. This isn't me saying it's the most realistic. This isn't me saying any of that. I'll cover the realistic part, every aspect of it But I just want to clarify that, put that disclaimer out there, because I don't want people to say, yeah, spreading propaganda like diehard Bulls fan talking about like, yeah, I think the Bulls really could go out and get this, but by a fake reporting from Woj or some shit like that. I don't want any of that bullshit. I'm not trying to, no pun intended. I don't want to like spread propaganda. I'm just saying what I think would be a great direction to go in, and how realistic would that be? Because then it ties into the realism, and also me just bringing into like my fandom, obviously, because local Bulls fan. I just want to make sure I get that out the way. But my perfect offseason would be the Bulls trying to trade for that third pick. Hopefully, Scoot Henderson is there, and that 10th pick from Dallas. Why do I think that's the ideal thing to do? Because you're just stuck in the mid. You're stuck with how like number 2, number 3 guys on a winning team, and you don't really. I think DeMar and Zach could work, but you ran out of assets very quickly with the micro moves you did. That didn't didn't really amount to much. With the giant swing you did for Vooch, didn't really help out either. This is not me commenting on Vooch or anything. I'm not the biggest fan of Vooch, but I'm not going to bash him every chance I get. That's kind of stupid. But they don't really have the resources able to do that. You can't go into the luxury tax because the ownership is cheap. You have Lonzo Ball's contract there. You can't. You're in a stranglehold. You're in a stalemate. You can't do too much. So I feel like trying to get that third pick, even if it's Scoot's taken or Brandon Miller, I feel like it'll set the Bulls on the right path. Personally, I want Scoot. I want these other teams to scoot the fuck out the way and bring Scoot to Chicago, because it just makes the most sense. Now, the asking price from Portland is they're saying a two-way wing, but let me clarify. Those don't grow on trees, and the Bulls, regardless if they did, the Bulls wouldn't be the first, second, or I don't even think the third option. Because then you have Boston, they're going down the drain. They might be interested in, I think whether or not what Charlotte does determines how many people are interested in that third pick. I think Brandon Miller will be a great player, despite all the off-court antics. I don't even know what to call it. Just, not antics, but problems, I would say. As well as, just when I see Scoot, I see more of a star versus how I see Brandon Miller. Again, not taking away from his game or anything. But if I'm a team, I'm looking at that, I'm like, it depends my interest. It very much gauges how much am I willing to go into that. And then people look at another team would be like Toronto. Let's get OG. I feel like everyone thinks, they talk too highly of OG in the sense of I wouldn't know. I don't look at OG and be like, oh yeah, he could really change Portland's trajectory of becoming, a real contender. Not saying he's a bad player. I like OG a lot, but I think there's this delusion behind him just because he's, more of a. He's not a 3-and-D, but he's not an elite two-way, if that makes sense. And at the same time, am I really going to give up that third pick for OG? I think a lot of the shine comes from him for the fact that he's pretty young. Which again, I'm not hating on him by any means, but it's just when it comes down to it, he's not really the most consistent at scoring. I had him on my fantasy team this year. I didn't watch every single Toronto game, but I kind of paid attention to OG a lot, and don't get me wrong, he was pretty elite at one point at defense. And then offense, that's picking up, for his age, you'd assume, all right, the offense is going to pick up once he's given that spot. But then what if it doesn't? You essentially might have given up the opportunity to have a superstar on your team for a guy who's hit his peak, maybe, So that's really what it comes down to. And then I can't really think of any other teams interested on top of my head besides those two. But then this is where the Bulls come in. I feel like you're going to have to give up either Zach or DeMar, some iteration of either one, whoever they want, as well as Caruso, because then you get technically two one-way players. You got an elite defense, all defensive first team with Caruso. He was doing crazy this season. His numbers ain't popping up. It could be what they wanted out of Gary Payton, as well as get Zach. Mind you, he's not that far off of Jaylen Brown. Mind you, he doesn't have the defense, but Jaylen Brown doesn't have the three-point shooting. It's the elite catch and shoot that Zach has that he'll get from playing with Dame. I think he still has a lot of that to show that we haven't really seen. And then you see, Caruso, they got Gary Payton. He can easily fit that role. As well, between Zach and Lamar for defensive wise, I'd pick Zach. But then you ask, would I do that for the third pick? I'd say yes. I don't know how the financials will work too much. That's why I haven't even posted a trade on Twitter, because essentially you just want the third pick, but then it's also Portland has salary space, but then they still gotta re-sign guys like Durant, and they have Nurkic under contract. It's very weird. I'll have to look into it more in depth. That's why I'm not having a graphic up this time. But let's keep going. Would I give that up for Scoot in the heartbeat? I really think he's the real deal. Again, I'm on the Scoot bandwagon. I've seen all the highlights. I really looked at it. It's gonna change the trajectory of a lot of things. I could see him fit perfectly with Ayo or Kobe. Obviously, Kobe's probably going to start, but I feel like those combinations of guards would complement his game, and it'll give him a real chance to shine. And it gives, you might have to throw in a pick in there, because then it gives Portland that real cushion to really, have a more high-level player, as well as not giving up too many assets. You give up the third pick, you wipe your hands, you still got your other picks, because obviously that'll count towards the pick they owe Chicago. But overall, it's not really too much, I would say. They probably, again, I did see it Zach, Caruso, and a pick maybe in the future, protected obviously. But that's me trying to be GM. I could see that in the world, but obviously I don't think it would be the first option. But it's something that I'd be willing to explore. Even if it's Brandon Miller, I think I'd give up a little less. But if I know Scoot's going to be there, you already know. Boston, Toronto, Scoot the fuck out the way. Now moving on to the 10th pick. Overall, with the 10th pick, there's a lot of shooting. There's a lot of versatility in that realm of the draft. You have Grady Dick, excellent shooter, definitely great scorer to have right away. 6'8", he could easily fill that wing position you so desperately need. Taylor Hendricks might still be there. Taylor Hendricks looks like he could be, a better version of Jared Vanderbilt. Jared Vanderbilt's definitely a player I've wanted on the Bulls. I think in my previous videos I made it talking about him, how he should be on this team. He'd fit seamlessly. But then it comes down to, what the hell would Dallas want? A sign and trade with Vooch, you take on the Bertans contract. Maybe if Vooch wants to go play with his buddy Luka. He's kind of been in Orlando. This is just me being skeptical on everything. There's no actual report I'm basing this off of. It's just me talking about what I see. Nothing. It's probably nothing. But yeah, he's been in Orlando. But he wants to go sign and trade. Boom. All they do is give the 10th pick. You get off of a bad contract. You still have the opportunity to bring back Kyrie, sign and trade Christian Wood somewhere else. You have a starting caliber center, damn near top 10 center in the league. Just definitely Aiden's not. Aiden's fucking ass now. A lot of guys fell out just because of their horrible playoff performance, in my opinion. But that's for another day. But yeah, I could really see them, Jet Howard's another name in that section of the draft where the Bulls could really go after it. So then you could try to have two young pieces coming in along with your core to see what Patrick Williams does. You might be able to hang on to one of your four best players, four meaning Caruso, Zach, DeMar, Vooch, you might be able to hang on, let's say, to a DeMar, which isn't bad. Because, again, you don't want to just full on, all right, let's pull a Houston, try to copy OKC with a bunch of young guys with no clear direction. But when you have DeMar still, it's like, all right, first of all, you're not worrying about who's taking away shots from Patrick Williams or the other guys because Zach isn't there anymore. Vooch isn't there anymore. Alex Caruso isn't there anymore for defensive opportunities. It really opens up a lot for young guys more than just, oh, here comes DeMar, just taking the mid-range. I think you're really, like, obviously it's not going to be the best, but the way he has his leadership, the way he talks about, oh, I want the young guys, to be up in my LA workouts with me. That's cool. That's inspiring. I like that shit. I like, DeMar doing that, bringing that mentorship. And it balances out with that young star power with Scoot. So if we do end up having that 40 and 42 record again, it feels a lot better versus the way we felt this season. That play-in spot will feel a lot better versus how we felt. And that's Dallas. I could see them going more for that. Like, it won't, I don't know what they're be interested in, but a center like Vooch, I just wouldn't freaking pass up on. Like, you're getting a pretty good bargain to be able to go play with Luka, bringing him that real help, bringing him more of what you wanted out of Christian Wood. I could really see that. And again, you're getting off a bad contract ultimately, and you still have, it gives you some breathing room to move the other guys. It definitely does. But overall, I really would like to see the Bulls just, be active. I feel like there's going to be a very active offseason compared to how it was at the trade deadline. I could really see them just, going and doing their thing. I really hope they're not, sitting silent, idle. Okay, we'll just, we almost beat the Heat, and look at the Heat. We've beat Denver in the regular season. Let's go out and do this. I don't want to have that mentality. I want them to really put together a good team. Again, I personally feel like you could win with Zach and DeMar, but you already exhausted all your resources. How much more you're going to invest into them? How much more you're going to have to really just put into that duo? Because I think it could work, but you still need the lead guard. You need the playmaking and everything. And just overall, I need to see some change. I hope, they find a way to get into this draft, considering there's a stat draft class. I haven't heard good things about the Nets one. I think there's, whenever you call a draft class stacked or weak, I don't really take it with too much. I don't trust it too much because then the 2014 draft class was supposed to be it. You had the future LeBron, Jabari Parker, so on and so forth. And a lot of these guys didn't really become much. So, again, not hating, but I'm not really fully investing. I'm not putting too much stock into that idea, even though I like a lot of players in this draft class. Hopefully, we get to see the Bulls do some moves. Again, these weren't really... Again, do I think they're the most realistic? No. Do I think they're far-fetched, unrealistic? You're going to have to trade for, let's say, a Tobias Harris or some other bullcrap. No, I don't think so either. Overall, there has to be some type of change. There has to be some type of direction picked. They want to keep going with the dinosaurs and everything, the older players. By all means, sure, invest in that. But if you want to invest in your young players, finally let your fourth overall pick try to be your fourth overall pick. It's contract year coming up. This is the type of year where they give them extensions. Hopefully they get a great extension for him. Again, Patrick Williams is a 3-and-D wing, in my opinion. At least bare minimum. At least minimum. That for him. Overall this summer, I kind of want to, dive into that idea. What is a playmaker? What is a true point guard? What is a 3-and-D wing? Things like that. I want to just look into the Bulls, getting their... If they finding a way to get into this draft. Because, I thought about them getting the Lakers pick, but with LeBron maybe retiring, I wouldn't trade away that pick. I'd try to draft, see what I could get from there. But overall, we'll see how it goes. Again, this is my take. It's not a full rebuild. Definitely a refinement, retool, step back, be able to, try to revitalize your team, re-energize. I remember this is why I brought up Joakim Noah in the Kevin Garnett interview. In that interview, Noah talks about how Billy Donovan allowed him to, take the ball down the court as the center. And how that wasn't really a big thing back then. And I'm just like, all season long, I had to watch, Vooch get the rebound and then pass it to someone else, or I had the rebound, make sure you pass it to Marzack. Or like they would play this game of hot potato before they even cross the half court line, taking up so much time away from their shot clock, and just the play would just be nasty. The play, like, the other team has their defense ready to go. But I just think about that, I'm like, if, Billy Donovan has that in him, if Billy Donovan has that, modernized offense in him, why not, if they think this is their guy, help them get, more competent roster. Again, you're not going to fully rebuild. Let's say, you could keep, I think there's a world where you might be able to keep one of the big three on this team. Yeah, I prefer DeMar, but it's not really not my choice, Vooch would be nice too, right there. Perfect fundamental center. Not fundamental, but like a reliable center. Stu could easily go play with, veteran presence, things of that nature, versus just a bunch of young guys going out there, throwing the ball out, see what the hell happens. But that's my perfect offseason. Let's see if AK, can get it done. Him and Mark. The Rising Doors, like, alright, let's go into luxury hats. Let's see what happens. Overall, I can't wait to do more videos. This was great being back in here. I know my voice cracked and squeaked so much, but it just felt great to actually record one. Talk to you guys. Leave a like, comment, follow, share, tell your friends, dislike, don't matter. Just glad you guys watched it. Thank you so much. I'll see you when I see you.